Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Important Work. I'm your host, Chris Angel, and I'm joined today by my guest, Leigha Lake. Aloha, Leigha.
Aloha.
All the way from Oahu. I have flown Leigha in at no expense to all of you listeners from Oahu. Leigha, thanks for being here, and we get to talk about the divine feminine today. Thank
you for having me. And just in our talk right before the recording, I'm so excited about everything you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's. I think people are interested in this conversation right now, and I think we're really early on in how many people are having this conversation. But I definitely think the world's ready for this, so it's fun to explore it. How did you come into conscious awareness of divine feminine, divine masculine? This whole conversation, and what does that even mean to you?
Yes. So, about 10 years ago, I had some relationship issues. I had started dating a man and I had dated quite a few men. And so when I found this one, I'm like, okay, this is the feeling that everyone says you're supposed to feel. And things moved really, really quickly. And he's like, you're the one I want to marry. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Yeah, we do. And things were going along. And then he just disappeared out of the blue. Wow. I was devastated. Yeah, I was really devastated. And I got online and researched everything about men, love, relationships. And I came across a coach and I read all of her stuff in her book, and she introduced the masculine and feminine energies to me. And the instant that came into my consciousness, I was like, this is it. This is everything that filled in all the missing pieces. And I just started noticing a difference with all the men in my life right away.
What do you mean? How so?
So
you were doing something different, or you just picked up on their energy differently, or what?
So, I felt like, cause I had, I came across, Jerry and Esther Hicks, and I was reading Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle, and just a bunch of spiritual teachers. And I was really in tune with energy and with the feminine. And I'm not sure how advanced your listeners are, but just, the feminine.
We'll just pretend we're all starting out here.
Okay. I'm like, the feminine is the being, feeling, receiving, allowing, responding, trusting energy. And the masculine is the doing, thinking, making things happen, advising energy. And the moving forward energy, and the feminine is the leaning back energy. And when I was around men, I would practice leaning back in physical reality, and then also energetically to create this space. And men would just naturally close the gap, whether it's just having a conversation or asking if they could help me with something. Yeah, right.
I'm picturing you're in my bubble, get out of my bubble. Constantly closing the gap. Was that a problem, or was that fine?
No, it was awesome, because I was experimenting. I just learned this amazing thing that made so much sense to me. And then I got to experience it in real life. And it's funny because it is like a bubble, you're in a bubble. And if what women tend to do unknowingly is they tend to be in their masculine and lean forward. And there's only so much space for a man that he just moves out of the bubble, which creates more urgency for her to move towards him more and more. Yeah. And then the relationship dynamic starts to dissolve.
Huh. Yeah, interesting. Has a lot of your work moved towards relationship stuff, or is it more towards just understanding the distinctions between feminine and masculine energy, or
Yes. So about 3 years later, so 2013, I became a relationship coach. And then over the 3 or 4 years, I'm like, this applies to everything. This is applies to money, applies to attracting anything you want. And I started teaching about the wounded masculine and feminine and the empowered masculine and feminine energies. And now it is way more evolved, where I teach these archetypes that we can go into. Also, there's a business model way for the feminine energy to structure her business so that it supports her rather than depletes her. And so
Wow.
yeah, like,
That's awesome. Can you
yeah.
talk about that a little bit? Because I know this audience who I typically am supporting are people in business. And I would say, you know, if I looked at my audience, 60 to 70% are women. If I look at my clients, 90% are women. And I feel like a lot of business advice and training comes from the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of women who are feeling like, I'm not willing to sell out and do it like that because that doesn't feel like me. But then they're just left with like, but what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like, how do you, like, can you talk a little bit about the business side of feminine energy? Like, what does that look like? What is that?
Yes. Okay. So first, I'm just going to back up for a second.
Yeah.
One of the analogies that I use most of all is the lighthouse. And so the lighthouse, it's the structure, which I call the masculine, the light is the feminine. And the structure, if the lighthouse is like running up and down the shoreline, trying to call in all the clients, get all the like, oh, yoo-hoo, over here, which what marketing can feel like.
Right. Right.
And then the boats that are using her light to be drawn in are going to be confused, and they're just like, oh, I don't know. And it creates this like fogginess, right? The fog rolls in the more she runs up and down the shoreline.
Yeah.
The stronger she can be rooted in herself, then the right boats will be drawn to her light. So that's just a very simple way of explaining.
Yeah. So Leigha, tell me about the rooted part. Like, how does, I work with a lot of women who are amazing women. And, but when it comes to marketing, for example, like the rootedness doesn't seem like it's quite there. They're rooted in their life and they're rooted when they work with clients. But when it comes to putting themselves out there, in the lighthouse example, like the light shining, it doesn't feel as rooted. So how have you found that is helpful for women to root into who they are?
Okay. Yeah. Great question. Yeah. And one of the, aspects of the wounded or disempowered feminine is she is afraid to be seen for who she is. She doesn't feel heard. And sometimes she doesn't really want to be heard for fear of what could possibly happen, for fear of rejection, or, it doesn't feel safe. And so if that is the case, and I just kind of want to touch on these archetypes because it brings it home. I have my women understand them so that they can activate into the empowered energies. And it's really about the integration of the masculine and the feminine. But they need to have both. And so if a woman is afraid to share herself online, she actually needs more masculine energy. Okay, so some quick information here. So with the wounded energies, there's both, right? So I have the wounded giver or the prostitute is the wounded feminine, and the wounded masculine is the hustler, and they go together. And then the other one is the child and the goddess, or the child and the narcissist. And then the other one is the victim and the bully, and then the dictator and the flake. So these are the disempowered archetypes.
Each one of those was masculine, feminine counterpart?
Yep, counterpart.
Okay. Like the child and the narcissist, like I'm guessing the masculine would be the narcissist and the child would be the feminine? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, got it.
I've taught this so much, so sometimes I feel like, yes, definitely backtrack if it doesn't make sense, because I'm like, okay, and this and this.
Yep, I'm up with you. I got it.
Okay, and there's a spectrum of the wounded energies along with codependency and narcissism. And so the child is on the extreme while the narcissist is on the extreme of the wounded masculine, right? Okay. So the child is the wounded feminine. And what we want to do is be able to recognize the voices and the feelings of the disempowered masculine and feminine.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So that's what I teach my women. And then I teach them what is the activated and integrated masculine and feminine in your life. So the opposite of the wounded giver and the hustler is the king and the queen. And the queen goes, so the feminine goes first. The queen must have her standards and requirements and her boundaries, and she must protect her queendom of allowing in the right energies.
Got it. Yep.
Which,
love that.
right?
Yep.
And so that has to do with not just her romantic partner, but also clients, family, friends. It must be a priority for her to not go into the wounded giver, which is where there's no boundaries, right? Like with clients.
Right. Totally.
All right, so that must be activated first.
Okay.
Then we move to the god and the goddess, which is the overarching, most powerful archetypes. And it's allowing someone to be their own parent, to be the parent they never had or wish they'd had.
Got it.
And most of my clients, there was something in their lives when they were younger that most likely their dad was unavailable in some way, whether there was addictions or he passed away or something that pulled them into their masculine energy to have to take care of either their mom or their siblings or something. They had to leave their childhood early and become a caretaker.
Yep. Right.
Yes. And then they're always looking for that masculine energy outside of them. And this attracts in the wounded masculine typically. Or a man who they continually have to pull along. And same with clients, they'll have to pull them along because they're so used to being in that role.
Got it. Of the caregiver,
taking on this parent role of the caretaker.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And okay, so when we move into the goddess and the god, then, and it's always the masculine and the feminine, but I should say feminine and masculine because the feminine goes first of like, I am the creator of my life. This is my vision. This is my dream. And then the masculine, the god, comes in and commits to making the dreams come true.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you.
Okay. Then we move over to, so underneath that, the next one is the victim and the bully. And the opposite of that is the heroine and the warrior. And this is where the boundaries are implemented. It's like you say what you do what you say you're going to do. You keep your commitments and you don't back down. You don't let other people's thoughts and feelings about you detour you from your mission.
This is as a heroine or as a warrior?
Well, they're both.
They're okay. Similar principles here.
So I think of Wonder Woman and Superman, like the Wonder Woman.
Okay.
And when she has both of those energies activated, right, she is on a mission, and where the wounded energies will self-sacrifice for love and into right.
Yep.
Wanting to become whole, the empowered warrior and heroine, they will sacrifice, but it's for the whole of the good. Like that didn't really make sense, but they will.
I got it. I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, if I put that really quick into the context of marketing, because that's where we started on this particular trail, was I can sacrifice my own discomfort, if you want to call it that, for the greater good that this message is for everybody else that I'm called to serve and protect or whatever. As a heroine or a warrior, I'm able to take the heat for the greater good.
Yes,
that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, exactly. Right. And it's such a distinction. I'm glad you said that, because it's not like needing approval or needing to be liked and needing, permission. When we are activated, it's like, this is what needs to be done.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And you can see that, like, if you listening to this in business, you can already start to feel where you're at in these different archetypes, like whether your energy is down here in the wounded energy or whether your energy is up here in the empowered energy. You can already get a sense of where you are most of the time, what your default is.
Yes.
Yeah. Really good. Okay. Keep going.
Yes. So then the last one, so the flake and the dictator, so wounded feminine, wounded masculine, moves into the enchantress and the alchemist. And this
Okay.
is where because we're supported, once the king and the queen, goddess and the god, heroine and the warrior are activated, the enchantress and alchemists get to play. We get to bring energy into form, and we're so supported, which is where the lighthouse will come back in, supported by our own energy that we become that magnet to what it is we desire.
Got it. Okay. This is really cool. I've never heard these kinds of archetypes before. Are these chronological archetypes? Like first the queen and the king, like we got to get that piece of it right. And then we can move into the god, goddess.
Yes,
Then
exactly.
The warrior, the heroine, and finally the alchemist and what was the feminine on that?
Enchantress.
Enchantress. Yeah, that's so cool. I love it. Okay, cool. So keep going.
Okay. So I teach my clients how to understand, like, what are the energies or what are the voices and the feelings that are keeping you from accessing these empowered energies inside of yourself.
Yep.
And when we can recognize them, then it's like, oh my gosh, like now I know where I need to go from here. Mm-hmm. And then, so let's move into the business with the lighthouse. Okay. With business, we have, this works synergistically. So we have our business structure and model at the bottom, because your business must support you. Otherwise you'll be on the hamster wheel, treadmill, burning out, overgiving. Totally. And your business model structure. And then you have your ideal client. And it's your ideal client doesn't support you, but it's what they bring to the table that supports you. Yeah.
Yep. I love that. Yep.
Yeah. Then we have our package, which goes along with the business model packaging. And what's the container? Does the container support you? Does it give you more energy, or are you, too busy replying to everyone else's needs that you're drained, right? That's the difference. Pricing, same thing. And then we move into the offer and the invitation. So those are all masculine, right? Just like the lighthouse, the structure of it is supporting the light. Then we have the invitation and the offer. And this is where we integrate the masculine and the feminine, because the invitation is feminine, but the offer is masculine. There, then we move into messaging, and our message is our soul's highest level expression. Like, it is sacred, it is divine. And this is where we move into the light of the lighthouse. This is how our clients find us. This is how your empowered masculine man finds you. This is how you draw it in, through your self-expression. And then then the next level is the transformation that happens when other people enter your energy field, right? You transform and the other people transform as well. And then we move into frequency. Okay.
Frequency, how so? Like past messaging, what is frequency beyond messaging and transformation?
Yeah. Okay, great. So your frequency is what, it's like, if you can just imagine like energy moving up through the lighthouse, through the business structure, right? And it's always cycling. And so the higher your frequency, when you're in the empowered masculine and feminine energies, right? You just continually, it's like you become more energy than matter. And you draw in more of the corresponding energies that you desire.
Yeah. I picture this, this concrete lighthouse turning into a metaphysical lighthouse that actually expands, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The more it cycles, the bigger the energy or frequency expands. That's how I visualize that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. And, all of my clients come to me, meaning like, I've never paid for Facebook ads. I've never paid for marketing. Not that that's a bad thing at all. And it started out in the very beginning of my business. And this is what I teach women. It's like, you don't have to do all of these things for clients to come to you. And the most important part is having an awareness around the masculine and feminine, what's wounded, what's empowered.
Okay, question for you on that, because so much of where I teach marketing from is speaking your message, right? Like, it's content marketing. It's getting your message out to the world, speaking your truth to the world. What is the balance of that, of like if you don't need to do marketing, but yet content plays a role. Tell me the balance. How do you see the balance in
Okay.
those?
Yes. And I love this work that you're doing with these women. So content marketing is shining your light. Like you can't not. There's this desire to like go more inwards, and the more inwards we go and the more afraid we are to express ourselves, then it's as if a fog rolls in, and it's going to be really difficult to build your business that way.
Yeah.
And as far as messaging goes, it's I really believe that your ideal client is within you, and she's not exactly you, but you've already walked the path.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Yeah. So, so for me, what I teach is these perspective shifting. It's shifting their perspective from what they think they need to do to what actually is going to move the needle. And that's probably what you do in your way.
Yeah. Totally. I think when you are a heroine or a warrior, when you are an alchemist or an enchantress, when you are stepping into these archetypes or these roles, I think it's a self-expression to create content. Like you have something for the world, that is out there, not in here. It's the wounded that withdraws and goes inside, and it is the empowered that goes out to help others, and I think when you're embodying these empowered personas, content is a self-expression. We don't do it it's almost like it's not that you do it to produce a result. You do it because it's what there is to do, and it produces a result. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So I have called that responding, and just exactly how you said that. It's your self-expression. You respond to the impulse for that expression, and then that naturally draws in the right people, and it nourishes your soul and others.
Yeah. Beautiful. I could keep talking to you forever because this is so fascinating to me. And it sounds like you, in addition to the business side, you have relationship stuff, and you've got a lot of different inroads to this conversation where people can begin to operate from, live from this divine and empowered energy. If people wanted to reach out to you, learn more about your work and how you might be able to help them, where can they go?
So my website is leighalake.com, LEIGHALAKE.com. I have tons of, free information. I also have a free Facebook group called Feminine Energy Empire.
Cool.
And I have moved away from business coaching, more towards helping women heal their relationships with men and money.
Got it. Nice. Love it. Super important work. Yeah, super important work. I love that. So good. Awesome. Well, Leigha, thank you so much for being on the show. And I hope we get to have more of these kinds of conversations in the future somehow. But until then, thank you and take care.
Thank you so much, Chris. I loved it.
Do you have important work in the world? We can help you produce a show just like this one and get your message out in the world. Go to mygroundswell.com to connect with us now.